Yes, yes. Welcome to the ancient world of tabletop games. I am Agamemnon from the historical documentary Time Bandits. This is a report from a fugitive. In space, no one can hear you scream. The scream is there. It's just suppressed by all that silent running going on. This video on Spelljammer figures is really about space. The amount of space taken up by Spelljammer figure boxes. They have to go to make space. There is no pressure in space until space is occupied. Then there's the desperate need to restructure everything on your shelves. Box after box. They multiply in the night, giving you more troubles than tribbles. What's the solution? Don't buy figures for role-playing games. That's one quick fix, I guess. No use to me. Yes, I'll run role-playing games without figures and floor plans. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a good example of that. Movement in combat is kept deliberately loose, so there's hardly any need for figures for positioning. The idea is to replicate the action of the TV show as a game, after all. Characters go where the action is, or create the action where they are. That's enshrined in the rules. In a nightclub, there'll be the alley at the side of the club, the front door, the bar, the stage with the band playing, the pool table, and that strange catwalk balcony upper level for the stunt performers to fall from. See you at the Bronze. And at the Bronze, players meet in the alley, crash the party, throw a vampire on the pool table, stake the undead with a pool cue, and yet no one reaches for figures or floor plans during the action. That style of play works for a Buffy game. Many gamers call it theatre of the mind. Even when using figures and floor plans down the dungeon, you're still exercising your imagination anyway. It's all theatre of the mind's eye, even with props. I've been in games with complex rules for movement, spell effects, and ranged weapons. We managed without figures and floor plans at all. By the same token, I've been in games with hardly any rules to them, and figures were very helpful in knowing who stood next to the Balrog, and who could hide from the Balrog by sliding into Baba Yaga's oven. Let's ask the question, why buy Spelljammer figures? For many reasons. Certainly not for ship combat in space, not with the in-depth Spelljammer space combat rules, for there aren't any. Here's the 5th edition incarnation of the setting. I acquired this set at a hefty discount, which is the only way to purchase it. Spelljammer was originally released for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition. Many of the figures from these boxes are based directly on the artwork from that initial release. The earlier incarnation came with hex maps and pages of combat rules. Pages of them. You determined direction of travel across the hex map. This meant your ship faced a particular side of the hexagon the cardboard counter stood in. Changing facing, familiar to wargamers, became a thing in Spelljammer ship combat. All of that detail is scoured away, keelhauled for the 5th edition revamp. Gaming has moved from cardboard counters to plastic models. If you want ship-to-ship combat using the official figures on a hex map, fork out for a piezo map of deep space. Thank me later. There are plenty of free ship combat rules out there for you to plunder. So yes, you can buy the official figures for use in ship combat, but read the ultra-fine print. Combat rules not included. And that means the figures themselves were not designed with hexagonal maps in mind. Starfinder spaceships are built to fit on Starfinder maps. Hexagonal bases. A small touch, but a neat one. Spelljammer spaceship size is a bit of a problem on hex maps, but only if you use hex maps. Any decent naval warfare game played on a blank table with measuring sticks for movement and range will cover the clunky black hole in the Spelljammer rules. I'm not saying anything new here when I declare that official 5th edition products put out by Hasbro have been rather thin on content for an age. The mind flayers in the Hasbro boardroom give you paragraphs instead of pages. Paragraphs and pages was an early attempt to capture the fun of spacefaring piracy, without the drawbacks of galactic scurvy. Living ships made from giant lemons and limes plied the spaceways, and that is a role-playing fact. So why else buy the figures if there aren't enough combat rules in the actual rules? You improvise. When you don't have the exact monster to put on the gaming table, you slap down something else that's in the general area. This is still theatre of the mind's eye, using your imagination to conjure up an image of a monster, just not the exact monster represented by a plastic figure on the table. The 12 orcs in the figure box are also 12 gnolls or 12 bandits or whatever it is you want them to be when the time comes. It's easier to carry a small box of hero and monster figures in a large pocket than to trek to a gaming club with 5 rucksacks full of every creature under the sun and a few beneath the surface of the planet. And so, in space, no one can hear you scream as a giant red dragon swoops down upon your spaceship. But elsewhere down the dungeon, that fully grown red dragon from outer space is now a baby dragon or a mutated lizard, whatever you want it to be. Yes, many of the ships from these boxes are ships, but there are plenty of creatures that serve double duty as strange and unusual dungeon denizens. The supermassive ship devourer of a galactic gelatinous cube in space easily serves as your actual gelatinous cube down the dungeon. So, is there another reason to buy the figures? If there aren't any ship combat rules worth speaking of in revamped Spelljammer, go and play Starfinder and take your Spelljammer figures along for the ride. Maybe you just like figures and don't participate in role-playing games at all. This is valid. How you spend your money is your business. Again, I feel I must stress a point. Yes, I have a collection of figures, but that does not make me a collector. And if you are a collector, how you spend your money is your business. Why mention this thing about collectors? The video concerns itself with saving space. Collectors, look away now. To save space, I must transfer the figures inside the boxes to other smaller, sturdier boxes. And these official D&D boxes go to recycling in the cardboard bin. The plastic inserts head to a different recycling bin. That's right, I don't care about the box packaging. Boxes stay until there isn't room for them, then I transfer figures to other boxes. Yes, technically I mean to smaller boxes. But this isn't always the case. Often I'll transfer figures to boxes that are roughly the same size as the cardboard ones I'm replacing. They are sturdier boxes. Now and then I have to transfer these models to larger boxes than the ones they arrived in. Looking at the huge shelf I cleared, I'd say I came out ahead in the long run. Most of the time I'll use really useful boxes. Yes, they are indeed sturdy. There's a corporate video showing a car being jacked up onto 4 really useful boxes. The car is a Mini and the boxes are 35-litre capacity. That's the hype. Mini is the brand name. I don't mean miniature. Miniatures, models and figures. Oh my. I lost a fragment of a lid to rough treatment in transit, and I was refunded for the whole box. A dab of epoxy resin glue, and I managed a reasonable rescue job. The company didn't even ask me to return the box. Well, if you are going for a fix like that, make the dodgy box the topmost in your stack, and draw a line next to the repair with a red marker pen as a reminder to handle your damaged container a little more carefully, just in case you forget which one it is. Of all the really useful boxes, so far I haven't damaged any myself. 2 were fractured in transit, 1 was damaged enough for a refund, and the other had a tiny chip out of a plastic bracing section. No big deal to fix. For Spelljammer figures, I reduced the assembled fleets down to 3-litre capacity boxes, 4 of them, giving a considerable space saving. If I'd really wanted to, I'd have dropped down a box-sized 1.6 litres for the smallest models in the fleet, but I kept to 3-litre boxes for ease of stacking everything in a tidy pile. Aside from saving space, moving spaceship and monster figures to sturdy boxes solves another problem. The plastic inserts are built to take each distinct model. Your Strawberry Centre only fits in the parking area for the Strawberry Centre, while your Orange Cream only fits in the space reserved for the Orange Cream. Putting figures away quickly is easier when piling them into a tub. On top of that, the plastic shrouds are too tight-fitting for figure safety. 2 of those spaceships arrived damaged. I did mild repair work and resolved that the plastic shrouds had to go. There are moves by WizKids, the manufacturers, to be more dolphin-friendly with their packaging. Less plastic, more cardboard. That's the future, and we've been seeing glimpses of the move for a while. Though 2 ships arrived damaged, broken during insertion or transit, I can confirm that I'm a damn sight more careful at this end when unpacking flimsy figures. I've yet to break a figure when removing it from the shroud. That's because I treat the imprisoned figure with respect and don't give a fizzband's fuck about the plastic tomb holding the model in its icy grip. The plastic shroud design isn't just about creating a nestling shell for the figure. These plastic caverns come with tabs that hold figures down. Bend and distort the packaging to save figures from damage. Don't bend the figures. Collectors, keep looking away. If you spend your money on buying figures in boxed packaging with plastic display windows, and you build a wall of figures in your dungeon for display purposes, that's your business. Me, I need the space for more figures, obviously.